your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a tape
no, I'm not doing that. The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round pick
were two
who didn't even play good.
Quarterbacks recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Where should Giannis Antetokounmpo play next season? Well, former Milwaukee Bucks player John Henson joins us to talk landing spots for his former teammate. Plus, the NFL schedule has been released, and so has the San Francisco 49ers record-breaking team valuation. Hello and welcome into Front Office Sports Today from our FOS studio in New York City. I'm Renee Washington.
And I'm Machado. Good to have you guys here with us. Of course, every weekday, Renee and I are chatting some of the biggest stories happening in business and culture of sports. We got a big show ahead, including Nicolas Cage as John Madden. You're going to love this. But first, let's dive into some other stories in the shoot-around.
Now, before we get into the highest valuation ever for a pro sports team, let's talk over in women's soccer, as Alexis Ohanian has confirmed he's a minority stakeholder in one of the top clubs in the world. He'll also take a seat on the board, and he didn't share the exact size of the stake, Baker, that he's buying or the price, but he is paying, as the Times has reported, around a 10% stake for about 20 million euros, which is $26.5 million. Now, Chelsea is fresh off winning a record-breaking 6th straight WSL title. Yep. They're preparing for the FA Cup at Wembley Stadium this week, and they also are led by U.S. Women's National Team defender Naomi Gurmo, who had a world record-breaking $1.1 million transfer fee, and now here comes Ohanian to invest in this team as well.
Oh, don't forget Emma Hayes, who's the manager of the U.S. Women's National Team, was formerly at Chelsea as well. He said on social, "I bet big on women's sports before, and I'm doing it again," and he's confident that Chelsea is going to be the next global women's sports brand. But this investment that he's making, as you mentioned, would basically value this club over $200 million. He would know about high valuations for women's sports because the previous record was the team that he used to own, which was Angel City FC. He sold that stake at $250 million to the Igers. So this is incredible for him to sort of get back into, owning another franchise out there and growing this brand.
He did tell us at FOS that his wife, Serena Williams, the legend, the icon, is not going to be involved in this minority ownership.
Missed opportunity.
I know. Well, there's a great opportunity as the San Francisco 49ers have reached an agreement to sell about 6% of the franchise to a trio of Bay Area families. Now, Forbes had the team's evaluation originally at a $6.86 billion, but the transaction details show the Niners are at a valuation higher than $8.5 billion, which marks the highest valuation ever for a global sports team in a transaction. So now you look, Baker, at the new minority stakes sales around the league after the NFL opened up for the ownership ranks to private equity last year. We're seeing more and more of this. The Eagles sold recently 2 minority stakes for $8.1 billion to individuals.
Right.
The Giants are in the market looking to sell 10%. This is becoming a theme, but not at this high of a price tag.
Well, and this would be the valuation that we know for sure, because most of those valuations we see on clubs and franchises like, let's say, the Dallas Cowboys are only theoretical valuations. Nobody sort of has any equity stake in something like the Cowboys, who, and I guess according to Forbes, is saying that they're worth over $10 billion. Also, according to Forbes, the Golden State Warriors would have a higher valuation than this at 8.8, but it just shows how much these teams, in terms of the amount of money that they're making, are bringing in. It's a 20% increase over what they were, as you mentioned, at the 6.8 before.
Wild.
By the way, the local families that you mentioned that are investing potentially in the 49ers, one of them includes tech billionaire Vinod Kolosa. He is worth $8.1 billion alone, and he would only just be having a 6% stake in the team.
Lots of money, money, money,
Yes.
money. All right, well, King Henry also deserves a new crown himself, as the running back, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens have agreed to a 2-year, $30 million extension. $25 million of that is fully guaranteed. And this deal marks, you guessed it, the highest contract for a running back over 30 years old. We're talking about Derrick Henry, who started all 17 games last season, 19th all-time in rushing yards, and also has rushed for over 100 yards in half of his games dating back over the past 5 seasons, including being the league's leading highest player, I should say, for most 100-plus rushing yard games. And by no surprise, here he is getting a big deal.
Yeah, I feel it's good to be over 30 years old, doesn't it?
Yes.
So the deal, by the way, includes about $25 million in guaranteed money. So this essentially would mean his average would be about $12.3 million a season, and that would put him as the 4th highest paid running back in the league, just behind Saquon at $20 million, Christian McCaffrey at $19 million, and Jonathan Taylor at $14 million. But he showed with how important he was to the Ravens franchise this last year with him and Lamar Jackson this last year.
And he's showing that running backs deserve to get paid.
Amen.
Absolutely. Well, the last 24 hours didn't just bring historic deals, but it also brought the official full NFL schedule. So let's take a look at that in our main event. 272 games for the 2025 NFL season. We've got a Clash of the Stars, a bigger international slate ever in NFL history, the biggest, I should say, streaming services, and much more buzz with the official release of the 2025 NFL schedule.
And Roger Goodell and Santa Claus.
Roger Goodell is Santa. Poor kids are probably confused and traumatized. But Baker, we already knew that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles were hosting the Cowboys for Banner Night to kick off the 2025 season. We also have some other updates. Now, looking at the highest number of primetime games, it's the Chiefs, who actually had 4 of the 5 most watched games last season. So no surprise, they're leading the charge here. The Cowboys, who, again, we mentioned it yesterday, love them or hate them, they generate a lot of buzz. And the Super Bowl champs, my Eagles, are 7-6-5 for the most primetime games. How about those other poor teams that are at 0?
Well,
Saints, Browns, Titans. With 0 primetime games this season.
Yeah, so Cleveland, Tennessee, and New Orleans all getting goose eggs this year. Nobody wants to watch what's happening. Nobody wants to watch Cam Ward. Nobody wants to watch what's happening in Cleveland. No, clearly not. So yeah, obviously you feel sad for them, especially given the fact that the Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars have 1 primetime game compared to all of them. On the flip side, as you mentioned, all those teams that are doing well, Washington, 5 primetime games. That is the most they've had since 2017. I mean, just the change in this team is amazing to now that they're going to get the NFL draft in 2027 as well. Other big week 1 openers, Ravens-Bills. That sounds like an amazing game. You also get Steelers and Jets, which is only going to further the idea that maybe Aaron Rodgers might be going to the Steelers to play his former team. And somebody actually said if Rodgers does go to the Steelers, maybe that game gets a primetime game, because the Jets have like no primetime games compared to what they had before.
Exactly. There are 8 teams that are sitting at 5 primetime games. There's a lot of important dates to keep an eye on, but something also important to keep an eye on. You mentioned Roger Goodell in the Santa Claus suit making the announcement around the Christmas Day slate, the triple header. We've got Netflix and Amazon all involved in that triple header. Netflix with 2 of those 3 games. And then also looking at the other big games that we've seen in terms of streaming services, you see a wide range of platforms. That CBS has 9 Chiefs games specifically for CBS Sports. Amazon has all 14 of the Thursday Night Football games, as well as 10 divisional matchups within that. So just breaking down, NBC has 8 Sunday Night Football games that are matchups of postseason participants. So not only are these streaming platforms dividing and conquering, but they're making sure the best matchups are also divided into what each streaming service gets.
Which is what you would want, because you want the most amount of eyeballs. And clearly the YouTube experiment is going to be big, because that is free to everyone. I mean, a lot of people complain that the games are on so many platforms now that it's difficult to be like, where am I going to be able to watch this? next game because now you've got Peacock getting exclusive games and Prime Video getting exclusive ones, and NFL Network has every single one of the international games as well. So it just furthers this notion that not just the NFL, but even the NBA are investing heavily in getting these rights to streamers because they feel like that's going to sort of increase the international audience for a lot of these games.
Well, what also increases the international audience is these crazy moments that they're able to capitalize on, like the schedule release on social media. And there were a lot of really good ones, but there were some.
Well, are you talking about the Colts one specifically? So, like, the Colts one is interesting. Let's play a clip of this because
we got to show. We can't do it justice. Now, sometimes when you're trying to create this viral moment, you go viral for the wrong reasons, like the Colts social team. They did remove that video. They released a statement apologizing because they have Tyreek Hill in the video. Of course, he's been in some legal issues. So to have Tyreek Hill, and that's not football focused. That's personal. That's a low blow. So they did have a statement that came out, but sometimes it's a hit out the ballpark, and sometimes it's a swing and a miss like that.
So what I think is interesting is each one of these teams did something different. We obviously are talking about the Colts, but I mean the Chargers have done some really incredible videos. You had Brenda Song doing a video for the Rams as well. You had Scott Van Pelt doing one for the Broncos.
Yep.
To your point, what something was traditionally just an email sending out the schedule to everyone is now a video thing for so many people.
Oh man, I know. Well, up next we switch to the hardwood to talk NBA with former pro John Henson on his teammate Giannis, the shortened season potentially, and more coming up after this.
Still underdogs at home, on the road, and all of these games. It's time for people to start understanding it's a legitimate team that has a chance not only to win the series against Cleveland, but also maybe even go all the way to the NBA Finals.
I think a lot of the focus has been on why the Cavs have not played particularly well. A lot of that is due to injury, of course, but I think that's taking too much credit away from what the Pacers have done.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Jason Tatum underwent surgery to repair a torn right Achilles tendon. That is obviously a season-ending injury, and you know that's long rehab. You're talking
that's a year.
That's a year.
I don't wish that on anybody. I don't. I hate that Achilles, knees and ankles. I don't like talking about them. I've said it a million times. But screw the Celtics.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Front Office Sports Today. Baker and Renee here. We now welcome in former NBA player John Henson to the show. John, nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I like the setup here. It's like the two ferns.
Yes, right.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I love that. Let's dive right in though, John, and talk about your former teammate Giannis, because we've heard so much around Giannis being open to exploring opportunities to go to another team. San Antonio has been a name that's brought up. They've got the number 2 draft pick, of course, along with some other options. Houston has 5 first-round picks. There's been various teams. Even the Warriors have sneakily been thrown in there. But I'm curious your thoughts. Do you think Giannis next season is going to still be in Milwaukee, or is there another team that you think we're going to see him playing with?
It's an institutional decision. I think it goes from the owners, the front office. They got to sit down. They don't have any first-round picks into 2026. So do you believe you will be good enough to put a product out there while also you don't want to lose Giannis for anything? So I think personally, the way the NBA is going, Dame Lillard's out, I think if you can put together a big enough, nice enough package, you can get Giannis. So I think the Spurs obviously have leaders in that category, but Wemby and Giannis, I don't know how that looks. Rockets, I heard the Heat, he's looking at the Heat as well, that he could do something. So, yeah, I would lean he's not going to be there. But then again, Milwaukee can just extend him for another 3 more years and call it a day and say we're not losing him. So you just never know. I know the owners love him. I know he loves the city of Milwaukee. So it's tough because, as you saw with Luka, if you piss the fans off, it could backfire on you.
Yeah, especially in small markets like Milwaukee, where they are, and he won a title for them. So there's clearly a huge attachment from the fans there with him. But I'm curious, as somebody who's played with Giannis, you've actually said that he's tough to play with because he needs to trust his teammates more. Extrapolate a little bit more about that. And from that perspective, do you feel like then that singles out only a few teams that could get him then because of that?
Yeah, well, he's unique. When he was younger, when Jason Kidd came in as our coach, for all the great things he did and was doing, he had to learn to trust his teammates because he can do so much. Like, he can literally, you saw game 6 of the finals. They weren't going to lose that. I don't care. Kareem, Michael Jordan was out there. He had 50, and they won the championship. So he can do that. But over the term, especially as a younger player, he had to learn to trust his teammates, had to learn to trust his guys and trust that we were going to help him out as much as he's helping us out. And obviously that manifested, and he learned the right way to trust his teammates. And he had a couple selfless superstars in Drew Holiday and Chris, and that, came with a ring. So that's just kind of part of his growth, and he learned and he was successful.
Well, let's shift off of your former teammate, Giannis, for a moment and talk about the injuries that we've been seeing and the conversation that's led to around possibly the NBA exploring a shortened season, because this year's regular season has had the most cumulative games missed due to injury or illness in any season outside of COVID-19 related absences. Now, it makes you wonder, are guys overextended, not getting enough rest? And from a player perspective, I'm curious your thought, especially if you knew it was on the table to play less games for less money, but maybe stay healthier. Do you think that's the direction the NBA should consider going?
That's brought up so many times, and people are like, hey, 20 games less, right? Well, then they'd have to come to the players and even the owners. You got to think about, we split the gate, so BRI, we split that, basketball-related revenue or something they call it. And so if you take 20 games off team schedules, so that's 20 essentially in TV schedule, off the TV schedule, that's off your arena, that's hundreds of millions. If you're taking away 20% of the season, if you're making $5 billion, that's $1 billion that you're going to lose. So I don't know if people are going to be okay with that. I think, personally, as a player, I'm going to tough those 20 games out. I'm going to be honest with you. So it's definitely a thought, but I think more of the conversation is load management. Kawhi Leonard, we laugh at him about that, but Tatum played in the Olympics. He played, most minutes ever. Like, I think teams have to look at that similar to how before the Spurs did and they would get fined and all that stuff. But I think that needs to be a conversation because I don't think it's coincidence that Tatum and Kawhi had these kind of devastating injuries and they played the most. There is a correlation, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know very many players would be like, hi, do you want to take 20% less of your salary,
But you get to play more games if you stay healthier.
Yeah, 1/4 of our salary, so if you're making $20 million, you're going to make 15. I think the player, and then with the owners, if you take the TV deals off, right, that's more money.
Yep.
So, you're talking billions of dollars in revenue that you're not going to get. I don't think anyone would be okay with that.
No, if anything, I feel like it's the opposite. It's like they want more and more and add more, keep adding more. And let's get back to sort of the question of parity with the conferences, because let's just say hypothetically, Giannis does get traded to a Western Conference team. And let's just say that, Cleveland and the Boston, who have the top 2 payrolls next year, also have to start sending players to teams in the Western
Jason
Conference.
Tatum next year for the Celtics.
Yeah, no Jason Tatum. Are you at least concerned then about the parity of the two conferences, given the fact that the West seems just so much more dominant than the East then?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting kind of thing. And, they talked about having the 1 through 16 seeds, right? But that's just the NBA, man. I mean, back in the day, it was the East, right? And that's shifted to the West. It is what it is, unfortunately. And I think it's because the West is so good, teams have to load up out there. So it kind of like has a kind of resounding effect on them. Like, okay, well, we've got Jokic and we've got OKC and we've got Houston coming up the tailpipe and we've got all these teams. We've got Wemby on it. Like, well, we can't just sit back. We've got to go get a Giannis, right? Where the East can take it back and say, look, the Magic, we were, a playoff team. We can kind of build slowly. We were good. In the West, I don't think the Magic make the playoffs. So it's interesting.
Very interesting. Last thought I want to get from you really quickly, about 30 seconds to go here, John. With the NIL transfer portal, it's changed a lot of questions whether or not players should stay longer in college versus coming into the league. Cooper Flagg, one of those names that have been brought up. What are your thoughts really quickly on if players should stay in college longer versus coming out to the NBA getting that opportunity?
Well, I think the number was I think the 21st pick was kind of the cutoff, and then you'd be making more money than if you're making $1 million or so, whatever. So with the NIL, so listen, I stayed for free for 3 years, so I would have definitely stayed if I wasn't going to be a top 15 pick, which I was lucky to be. So I think it's good for the game of college basketball, and the players are making money. I mean, these kids are making millions of dollars. I see pictures online. They're in Turks and Caicos. I mean, I love it. So keep it going. I mean, hey, run it up until they change it. That's how I
sense jealousy. I sense jealousy.
Thank you, John, so much for joining us. What a great nugget to end on. It's been a pleasure to having you here with us. And up next, our FOS newsletter writer, David Rumsey, joins us. We talk PGA Championship and what's going on at Quail Hollow. Stay tuned.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Derek Carr has called it a career after 11 NFL seasons.
I think they knew before the draft that they had to make a move at this point. And by the way, Derek Carr did have a pretty good career. Made as many Pro Bowls as Eli Manning. So based on that, he should go to the Hall of Fame like Eli Manning. Well, Eli Manning does have a couple rings at that point, but always wanted to take a shot at Manning, who should not actually be in the Hall of Fame. Shouldn't be questioned an under 500 quarterback for his career. Stop the man.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Front Office Sports Today alongside Baker. I'm Renee, and now we welcome in our FOS newsletter writer and golf expert, David Rumsey, who's down at Quail Hollow Golf and Country Club for the 107th PGA Championship. David, nice to have you here with us. Welcome to the show. Let's dive right into one of the big topics that are coming around in the PGA Championship, the course. Hunter Mahan has actually said Quail Hollow is like a Kardashian, modern, beautiful, well-kept, but lacks solar character. There's been so much comparison of the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow to the Masters, British Open, and U.S. Open of not having an identity. What are your thoughts around this? The course itself getting some heat from Hunter and others.
David, you've also been hearing in terms of reporting the record amount of hospitality sales that are going to be infiltrating the area as well. What have we learned?
Yeah, and for those fans in attendance, they get to see some of the best in the world rankings. One of those names, Rory McIlroy, who's got some new swagger we've heard after winning a green jacket, returns to Quail Hollow, where he actually won his first career PGA Tour victory back in 2010 when he's just 21 years old. He's a name to keep an eye on, as are many others. But looking at Rory, David, what are your expectations for him and just continuing to try to climb that Mount Rushmore of golf legends? Very interesting. Well, David, thank you so much for jumping in on Front Office Sports today to talk about all the excitement down at Quail Hollow around the PGA Championship. Hopefully you enjoy it and have a great time down there. And for everybody, you can check out David's work. You'll be writing on the newsletter, and you can check out the website on FOS for more of our coverage around the PGA Championship with David Rumsey. David, thank you. And let's get now into what's bubbling over at the water cooler. Amazon MGM Studios has started production on its Madden film after the legendary John Madden. Now, we're still waiting for the official release details, but we do, Baker, have a first look at the star-studded cast. We had a nice behind-the-scenes picture of Nicolas Cage as John Madden. Christian Bale is going to be Al Davis, and we're getting an incredible roster in terms of this cast.
I mean, this is filmed by David O. Russell, which we all know is the Oscar winner director. He loves interesting casts on movies. This one, as you mentioned, Nicolas Cage. Catherine Hahn is Virginia Madden, John Madden's wife. Christian Bale, as you mentioned, Al Davis. Sienna Miller is going to play Carol Davis, Al Davis's wife. The one I'm fascinated by, John Mulaney is going to play Trip Hawkins. For those that don't know, he's the guy that created EA Sports and convinced John Madden to license his personality to the video game. So obviously that's going to be a storyline in this movie. I think this is going to be great. Although a lot of people are on the fence about Nicolas Cage as an actor.
I like Nicolas Cage.
I would have picked like Jack Black. I don't know.
Oh, no. I will die on this hill. I actually like Nicolas Cage. He's played some crazy roles over the years, but I think he has the versatility and the range, and even seeing him in character as John Madden, I kind of see the vision now. I will also say it's great that we get this behind-the-scenes look. Madden, when you look at it, literally changed the game, I would say, for even video games.
It did.
Like EA Sports, and a lot changed around Madden. The iconic sounds, the look of it, the John Madden involvement. So I think not only the impact on the NFL, but on video games and childhoods like mine, playing Madden growing up, you looked forward to when a new Madden dropped every year. And John Madden is a big reason behind some of these key moments. His role as a broadcaster and an icon in that regard deserves to be shared. I
just am curious, is the turducken for Thanksgiving going to have like a storyline?
It's very good, by the way. I have. It's delicious. Well, we've got the 29th WNBA season tipping off tomorrow with 13 teams ready to take the court and take over the basketball world. We're previewing that on our edition of FOS Today. Be sure to tune in, and thank you so much for hanging with us today. We will see you guys next time. Have a good one.